What's up, tribe? I'm your host and Wholesaling Inc. coach, Rafael Cortez. And today we have Mr. George Aplicano with us. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Hi, how are you guys doing? Welcome, tribe.
Doing great, man. Doing great. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by. You're totally crushing it. You're actually in my market. Tell us a little bit. What's your background? How did you get started in real estate? And let's dive into it.
Yeah, no problem. I was a mortgage loan officer for 20 years. Came to the realization at the end of my 20 years that I even making loans, I wasn't making enough to have my daughter pay for my daughter's college. I was doing well enough, but it wasn't going to be enough to have my daughter's college paid off or my son's college paid off, and financial freedom was really, really far away. So, found a little bit of a, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, just like most wholesalers do, right?
The catalyst, yes.
Right, the catalyst, exactly. And then that started the mind change, the mind shift, right? And from there, it just kind of took off. I found wholesaling and figured out how that process worked, and met a lot of different partners here in this Phoenix market, this wonderful Phoenix market. We're collaborating with a lot of our peer group out here, and everybody's pushing everybody to go forward. So, I'm part of that, and I'm blessed to be a part of it. So that's in a nutshell, right? It's a 4-year spiel in less than a minute, right? But,
yeah. So you've been at it for 4 years, right?
Correct. 4 years. Yeah. Exactly.
And it doesn't take much to really get the wheels rolling. I mean, right now, I see you on a regular basis all over my inbox, and properties left and right all over the country, and doing a lot of massive stuff and moving along quite nicely. So that's really cool. Let's dive a little bit into like the technical aspect. How many deals do you have on the whiteboard right now?
On the whiteboard, we have a total of 8 deals right now, but we just ended up closing 2 today. So, we had 10.
You're in a very, very competitive market. So finding sellers, what's currently working for you guys?
So I've done it all, right? I did the bandit signs. I've done direct mail. I've done cold calls, the RVMs, right? Ringless voicemails, and also texting, right? So I've done it all. And amazingly enough, it all works.
Right?
It all works, right? To a specific degree. At the end of the day, there's certain things that are more comfortable for some people than others, right? For me, I found that cold call. In my mortgage background, I was raised in a call center. So I was a manager for a call center. So for me, I'm looking at, and little things like aux times and dials and basically the how effective people are on their calls. To me, that's something that's second nature. So for me to look at that report going, okay, my call center is doing X, and then by X equals number of deals every single month, that's easy for me. It may not be for everybody, but it's easy for me. At the end of the day, my belief though is that you're never going to get a deal unless you talk to people, right? TTP.
Yeah.
But unless you talk to people, you have to talk to the seller. And if you're not making that connection, you're not building those bridges with seller, and you're not solving those problems, you're not getting anywhere. So basically, we have a call center that basically calls. We have, we buy our data. A lot of it is absentee owners.
Volume.
And then we bust it on volume, right? Based off of that volume, then we get it. Now we do have some in-house acquisition people. So we have about 5 people at our call center that we hire. We also have 2 in-house acquisition people as well, and they basically are calling those hot leads.
Gotcha. So your backbone for marketing is going to be cold calling, which makes perfect sense. I see I see a lot of people just not giving it the time. Different strategies, everything works, right, for a period of time until it doesn't. But it's what I mean by that is sometimes it'll get saturated. For example, everybody started doing RVMs, ringless voicemail drops. Yeah. And then compliance and all kinds of stuff, started kind of bubbling up, and it stopped working, and it got, it just got sketchy. I did the same thing, and it was working, for a while. But the thing is, people keep it on the technology side. For example, if you start getting a lead through SMS, through text messaging, right? And then you start a conversation, and they actually respond to it. Do you want to sell your house? Yes, I want to sell my house. Okay. They keep it in SMS. They'll keep it on the text message instead of jumping on the phone right away and actually having a one-to-one conversation, human connection. And I mean, nothing is going to convert at the end of the day leads like having the actual conversation. That's why I'm a huge believer. It's actually our backbone as well, cold calling.
Right. Yeah,
So
exactly.
we do supplement it with a lot of different stuff, social media and pay per click, and so we do a portion of all that. SMS, we do a lot of SMS, but the backbone it's cold calling. I mean, that's
right. And my theory is that with SMS and then ringless voicemail, right? That's getting a prospect, right? You get it where they're warm leads, and then from there, the call center will now go ahead and capture it and actually make it into a warm lead. And then at the end, my acquisition people will actually convert it. So
nice.
That's kind of my process, right? The great thing that helped out in securing that process was definitely the Pulse Podio, right? So that was an incredible tool that you blessed me with. But it's an incredible tool because now everything that we have is categorized, right? So if I get a JV deal, right, because now since we're heavy on the social media, we are getting acquisition people from everywhere else going, hey, I have this deal, I don't know how to sell it, I don't know how to dispo it. So then we're able to go ahead and capture that and recognize, okay, well, part of our business is coming from JV deals and cold calls. So now we're about 50-50, right? Mm-hmm. And it's pretty incredible that's happening, and it's coming from social media. Other people that are getting into the business, they're reaching out to both me, and I'm pretty sure that's happened to you as well, just saying, hey, I have this deal, I don't know what to do with it, right? Can you help me? Can you walk me through it, right? And because of the system that you provided, we're able to now track all of that information. Before, it was just kind of up in the air and trying to figure that out.
And I think that's thank you. I appreciate that. By the way, it's and I think it's one of the key things, right? And I mean, you can't use whatever you have at your disposal. It can be a spreadsheet. It can be, right, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a big fancy system. Of course, if you have it in place, it's going to be a lot easier. But the point is to track where things are coming from. That way, where your time is best spent, right? And I think, I know I spent a lot of time on the wrong stuff at the beginning. Because I thought it was working. So I was getting a lot of busy work coming in. And then, for example, with ringless voicemails, we would have to just kind of sort out through all the phone calls. And that took hours, right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, the leads that we were actually getting from that type of marketing were hardly converting to prospects. And the deal amount was minimum. Right. So it's really important to just keep an eye out on the stuff that you track. What are you guys tracking? Give me the top 3 things that you track on your business right now.
So first, the first thing that we call is just dials per day, right? So we have to ensure that everybody, every single person from the call center is dialing at least 300 dials per day, right? Mm-hmm. Then from there, based off of that data, how many leads are actually generated, right? From a generation standpoint, we are getting about 25 to 30 leads per week.
Wow.
So from those, right? So from those, it easily converts into 1 or 2 contracts. That's essentially how our KPIs are. Mm-hmm. On our acquisition side, we want to make sure that those guys get at least 2 contracts per week, right? The funny thing is that, and just like everything else, right? It's a challenge, and I'm growing, so I don't have everything nailed down to a T, and it's not perfect.
It never will.
Right, exactly. So we're tracking this stuff from the call center. We're paying all these things for the call center. Do I know for sure that my guys are actually getting 2 deals a week from the call center? Not really, because what happens is that I'm transferring over some of the JV deals that we're getting from other people to them, so that they can get it properly in place inside of our system and then dispo it out. So there's a little bit of but I see down the road that stuff is going to be something fixed, right? So that's easily fixable. So,
well, if you have something that's kind of wobbly in the business, you know where to peg it once you have a process in place, right? And of course, I mean, nobody starts off with a process in place. You kind of start with an idea and then some sort of a sense of direction of, okay, I think this is what I got to do. Let's try it out. And it's psychologically, it's one of the hardest things to get through, because there's all that fear of uncertainty. There's all that, I'm not sure what to do. I don't know where exactly to go from here. And it can stop you in your tracks. So 4 years ago, when you started wholesaling and you got into it, and I mean there was a click right there, right? So you decided to jump into it. What did it look like then in comparison to what it is now? Did you start off with employees? Did you start off with things figured out, or
No,
talk to me, bro?
Yeah, no. Oh my God, it was hard, and it was a lot of days of ramen, man. So what it looked like.
Love it.
Yeah, so it was a struggle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what is that saying, that nothing worthwhile is easy, right? Or something similar to that, right?
If it was, everybody would do it.
Yeah, exactly. If it was easy, everybody else would do it. So at the start of it was, I understood this. So I understood what flipping was, right? My mom and dad, they sold shoes, and they sold high-end shoes, right? What they would do is they would buy some shoes that needed some adjusting or fixing or whatever. They would fix them up, and then they would try to resell them at like half of the price of whatever they were, right? So they flipped shoes. I know it sounds silly, but that's,
we're doing the same thing with contracts.
Right, exactly. So now we're doing
the same thing with paperwork. So it's not crazy at all.
Yeah, and bigger margins, Yeah. So that's the whole thing. And then, Wells Fargo did teach me a little bit about business. But just to your point, when I first started, I figured the easiest way for me to get into this business was to go and work with an investor, right? Somebody that's already in the business. And I did that. I made the phone calls. I did the contracts, and it was brutal, right? It was a ton of rejection, a ton of people saying no, and but I figured out a way for me to do it. Unbelievably enough, the first investor that I worked with didn't pay me my commission when I started, and it was at a point in time where I really needed it. Yeah, and
it's easy to get demoralized like that. I mean, it's.
Yeah, but I had a goal, and I was going to see my way through it. So eventually, I started doing cold calls, and I started doing cold calls on Craigslist. Craigslist.
Yeah, I'm telling you, people undermine Craigslist all the time, but it works. There's certain things that it works really good for.
Right, exactly. So,
so
that called on Zillow as well. That's how I got my database. Once I got a contract together for myself, I was like, okay, great, and now I have a contract. And what do I do with it? So, reached out to a couple of different investors and some friends of mine that I met along the way, and they helped me disposition it, and I made money. And then once that happened, my proof of concept was secure. And that was it. It was over, right? That was game over. Once I figured out, okay, this is all I need. I just need
this is real. It landed. Yeah.
That was it. It was over.
What was the spread, if you don't mind me asking, on that first deal?
Oh, my first deal, the total spread was $10,000, but with my percentages and everybody else wanting a chunk of it or whatever, I ended up making like $2,500.
$2,500, but you saw a 10K rolled in, and it really, like, that's I always talk about that. It's not really the amount of the first check that's coming in. It's that it just, I mean, it stamps everything, man. It's okay. It has a stamp on it that says legit. And and you understand that it's real, like, oh wow, I can do this again. By then you're already working on multiple properties or more deals or more sellers, so it just becomes a tangible thing, right? It's something that you can actually touch, and it's not a wishful thinking anymore. It's not overnight success, because it takes a while, of course, rejection and everything that comes into it. But I mean, if you stick to it, grit's always going to pay off, especially in this type of work.
Absolutely, grit. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to, sorry to cut you off, I didn't mean to, but yeah. So I mean, on the HUD, it actually showed it, and now the average wholesale deal that we do is about 15 grand. And I just closed one. I want to say last week, and it was a 35.
See, I'm telling you, the more comfortable that you get, the better conversations that you start having, the better systems that you start putting in place. That's the thing. A lot of people don't look at this as a business. They stay in the hustle stage for too long. And I think it's in the long run, it's definitely going to drain you, because if you're trying to do all the marketing, you're trying to do all the cold call, forever, it's just going to spend you, right? You have to start off that way. But it's really smart to start working on the business instead of in the business.
One big thing is that, and one big thing is managing your money, right? And most people don't talk about this. So I read a book, Profit First. Mike Michalowicz, I think, is the author on it, right? And that was a really good book. So I came from a background where money was not talked about, and we never discussed it. We didn't know how to manage it and things like that. It was always hush hush, don't say what everybody's making. And the reality of it is that once the mindset started shifting, well, rich people talk about money all the time, right? Wealthy people talk about money all the time, because that's the major focus on what they're going to continue to build their wealth on. And so I went to YouTube University and I started learning on how to manage money, right? And then bought the book Profit First, and that's really honestly what has that managing the way that process is and that system is has helped me tremendously, because whether my company has been financially solvent because of that management. And so there's all kinds of companies that don't make it because they don't manage their funds well, right? Yeah. And so now, right, learning that process, and by no means am I an expert, but that has helped me out tremendously, especially with the kind of margins that we make in this business. It's one of those things that, okay, well, now I have the funds to do this and explore and grow and expand and then reinvest back into my company and have it continue to go further. So yeah, so it was great. I just wanted to mention that out.
Yeah, man, I love it. It's and you're saying something that's, I mean, it really hits the nail on the head, and that's we're not experts. The time is never going to be right. The time is never going to be perfect to get started, to get rolling. If you hadn't taken the leap 4 years ago, you wouldn't be where you are right now. So, I mean, end of story, right? What does your company look like right now? What's the team size? What are your markets? I mean, how you started as a solopreneur 4 years ago, and then what is it?
When I was barely starting off, after I found that deal and I made that $2,500, I was still wholesaling. A buddy of mine that was a real estate agent came over, Albert Seja. He came over and he was like, "Hey, I have a wholesale deal. You wanna do with me?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, great." That was the first of many. We started doing some JVing on a bunch of deals, and we were like, "Hey, why don't we start up a company?" Right? So I'm just one piece of an equation, right? My partner is actually a big piece of what our success is, right? So we started JVing on these deals. We created the company, and then we see eye to eye on a lot of things. The difference is that I'm a lot more aggressive and more outgoing. He's a little more conservative. The thing about it is I'm learning from him, and I think that he's learning from me, and that yin and yang has helped.
Well, you're playing on each other's strengths, so
right.
That's huge. Yeah,
exactly. So from there, right, we have 5 in the call center. We have 2 acquisitions here. We have 2 dispositions as well. And then myself and Albert, right? So we are currently hiring and going through that, and that's a process that's a whole separate podcast.
It always is. Yeah.
Right. So markets that we're in right now, we're obviously in Phoenix. We're in Phoenix and Wisconsin, Atlanta, Georgia, and then we're going into California. We were going to open up in another market, but then we decided that our boots on the ground kind of had different plans. So we're in 4 markets, right? So we're going to be looking for a 5th market shortly.
Nice. Yeah, man, I love the growth. I mean, it's been fast. I mean, 4 years go by quick. Especially when you're moving along and then you're just taking massive action. That's really the thing. It's we call it massive imperfect action, right? It's always going to get you further than sitting there and then theorizing about everything that could happen, how it could play out. And I mean, that's another common mistake that I see all the time. It's not, people don't have the roadmap laid out to the T, and then they just, they never take the first step. So, right. So I love it, man. Yeah. Kudos on that.
Inaction is hurtful for you. Also, just so that, also another thing for my background, we specialize in multi-units. And there's a reason for that, right? Even though maybe the expense may be times 3 or 4, and it's always the small family units, but the spreads are also times 3. The spreads are also times 5. So that has helped out with our fix and flip side of things, right? We acquire these small little apartments, these 2, 3, 4 unit buildings, and
Do you cap it off at 4 because of residential, or?
Yeah, because it's residential, they're easier to sell. They don't go through the commercial aspect, and then the financing is easier for them to get. So
Right.
once again, my
So,
mortgage background, that
yeah.
helps me out, right?
Yep.
So yeah,
let me do a pause there. So 1 to 4 units on a multifamily, for those who don't know or not aware, it's still considered residential. It's, even though you have different, up to 4 doors in that same property, it's still processed on the lending side as a residential property, and a lot of times it's easier to qualify. So these still treated as a single family residence. So if you go above 4, it's a different game. They
right.
Becomes commercial. Yeah.
It becomes commercial, right? And it's harder to qualify on those. So what we do is that we do turnkey for first-time investors, right? And we usually end up having one of the units available, because what we basically buy it, we rehab it, and then from there we stabilize the rents for first-time investors. So when a first-time investor comes in, they can live in the property if they choose to, right? They can live in the property, and then from there they can now know they can do a little house hacking, right?
House hacking. Oh, that's beautiful, man. Exactly. So clever.
Yep. So they can actually live in the house, have somebody else pay the rent. That's their first step into investing. And then from there, they're making a good return, right? Their home is being paid by somebody else. So that's that, and then that starts the process. We're getting into bigger projects now. Lately, like, we have a 97 unit property that we're trying to figure out in Texas.
Wow.
But it's no longer scary. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, it's just numbers, right? A $400,000 fourplex that we had here in Phoenix, and now it's a $4.6 million project in Texas. It's just more zeros. That's all it is. Right.
Absolutely. So, this is the crazy thing, man. I used to flip cars. So I would go to auctions and I would buy cars, and buy them for $1,000, $2,000, and I did that for years. For a long time. It was just like a side hustle, right? And I would go buy them at the auction, and then I would flip them and then make $500, $800. But you know what, man? Everybody has 24 hours in the day. So, we can choose to stay in something that pays us, $500, $800 for, an amount of work, or we can apply all that energy into something else, like a 92 unit multifamily deal that's gonna just come back with massive results. Right. I love it, man. This is crazy. 4 years. You jump into wholesaling, leave your job, and then now you're looking at 92 door deals in a state that's not even yours. That's amazing, bro.
Exactly. Thank you.
It's amazing. I love it. So
yeah, I know it's been an amazing ride. I know. I'm glad it's not over, and this is just this is like phase 1, right?
Right.
So we don't know. I don't know where the end result is, and I don't know if there is an end, but I'm definitely enjoying the journey right now. So.
Beautiful. That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I was talking to a really good friend of mine, and the comment was that the point is not the point, right? It's really in the journey, and it just kind of came out, but it resonated so well with both of us. And the point of making millions and millions and millions is not really the point. It's everything that's that's on the way there. It's the lessons, it's the growth, it's the appreciation that you get for everything. It's the blessings that you're able to leave behind you, and it's a beautiful thing when you see it that way. Let's real quick, let's break down. If you're okay sharing this, let's break down perhaps your most massive deal.
Okay, well, so I have a couple of different sources of income, right? So I still do hard money loans. I still do wholesaling. I do fix and flips, and then
all this branched out from you making the decision to wholesale 4 years ago.
Right, exactly. All of this came from wholesaling. Yeah, exactly. And so then all of those are my income sources, and then I still have my own private portfolio. So all of that stems from it, right?
On a wholesale deal, what's the biggest spread that you guys have done?
Biggest spread, that one, actually last week, the one for 34, 34,000. I want to say prior to that, we did another one for 30. But at this point in time, it's more of we've already created the assembly line.
Yeah.
So even if a deal is a big deal, right? So we have, and I don't know if you guys call them, burgers, or everybody has their own name for the splits on it, but but basically, yeah. So 34,000 was the highest one so far. There are bigger ones.
Tell me about that one. Where and what type of property was it?
Actually, your hometown.
Nice. Did you take it from me? Did you beat me to it?
Yeah, so it was a deal in Yuma, and yeah, there was a deal in Yuma, and that one was also a multi-unit, right? It was it had a single family residence in the front, and then
actually for Yuma, it's a big chunk of spread. The market in Yuma is different. It's the numbers are a lot tighter whenever they do roll up. So
yep, exactly. Yep. So knowing my partner is also from Yuma, so just so that you know.
Insider, we got an insider.
We got an insider, yeah.
How'd you find that lead?
Same thing, cold call. We just got the data. We pulled the data, made the cold call. Guys like, I just want out of the deal. My acquisition guy was very friendly with them. The guy's like, I'm just tired of renting. He had it was a single family residence, then a single family residence in the front, and I want to say it was a 3-1, and then in the back it had 2 additional units, duplex, which both of those were 1-1s, which is 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and then as an additional rental income, it had 2 RV slots, right? So typically we don't count those as multi-units, but it is income, so it wouldn't go into our appraised value. So it wouldn't be like, we wouldn't pay for those 2 parking spots because of the income that it generates. So we didn't count those when we first started, but it was a bonus when we were selling it. And obviously, if it's rental income, whoever's going to go and buy it, they're looking at renting those two locations. Right. So at the end of the day, this guy's buying a fiveplex in Yuma. So when you do your cap rates on that, and then your return on investment, you're going, well, awesome, right? So like this thing is a cash cow. So that's what we ended up getting. We just grabbed it, we wholesaled it, and there it is, and we made some money in our pocket, and it was pretty easy, and seller. Here's another thing that most people don't talk about too, referrals. So that seller has a couple of different properties, and he's already kind of told us, all right, well, we'll go ahead and we'll give you a shot on those next properties. We'll see how it goes. This one went very smooth. I'm very happy with the way it goes, and there it is.
And they will come back. That's the thing. I mean, most people see sellers as a one-time hit, but if they have, sometimes you come across people like, for example, I kid you not, right now, we locked a deal on Friday, and we locked it a little high. We locked it at ARV's 250, locked it at 190. So it's tight for a wholesale, but it doesn't need much. I mean, the rehab on it is going to be 10. It's lipstick and
right.
Kind of stuff. So painted carpet, even has appliances and everything. So it's the numbers for a wholesale deal. It would have been just a regular regular, small deal, maybe 5K, 7K or something like that, which is not bad. But we're in the, we have first pick. We can cherry pick. So that one, we're just wholesaling it.
Yeah.
And that was a seller that I bought a property from about 2.5 years ago, in Avondale. So I bought his house in Avondale, and he was pretty happy and gave me a call. So the lead didn't cost a thing. And at the end of it, we're looking at the projections after the flip, and everything's got to be about a 38K deal. It's an all right. Yeah. It's an all right flip for just a cosmetic. Pretty much come in, clean it, and then put it up on the MLS. So there's ways to ramp up those profits. And it's so good whenever they come in with just, from the vine, from the previous marketing that you've dropped for us.
Right, exactly. That's a free lead. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't cost you anything for it. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I love it. So no, man, I appreciate you spending the time and then sharing all that info with us, and just opening up like that. It's what are the top 3 things that new wholesalers or aspiring wholesalers need to be focusing on right now?
Mindset. One is
mindset.
You have to change your mindset, right? Because in every other business, you're selling something, right? In this business, you're buying. And that it's a different mindset, right? And you're buying. Yeah, you are selling yourself as a problem solver, right? But that mindset has to change, and the sooner you're making that mindset change, the quicker you're going to see the fruit of your labor, right?
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. The second thing would be don't stop the hustle, right? You have to. There's
consistency.
Yeah. The harder it gets, you just have to break through that and continue to go through it, because on the other side of that is an amazing opportunity, right? And the discussions I've had with people have come in and out of my office and out of in my world, that they think, okay, I'm going to be a wholesaler, right? And then they come and they do the wholesaling, and they end up becoming flippers, or they end up becoming note holders, or they end up becoming separate things that they didn't even think that they were doing. But the only way for them to get there is through wholesaling. That's the only way for them to understand the rest of these other concepts of happening.
Right. It's one of the best vehicles out there, man. I keep talking about that. And when it comes to mindset and hustle, one thing that I want to throw out there, it's the way I like to picture it. It's like a hockey stick effect. I mean, it takes a bit to just kind of ramp it up. But then you get to a point where it just does this.
Yeah.
And it becomes so much easier to navigate. You know, everything just starts kind of, you know, you're on top of the boat at that point, and you know, out in the ocean, not trying to, you know, build a boat and then get offshore.
Right. Building a boat while you're swimming.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right.
Yeah, no, yeah, man, I love it.
Yep. The third thing that I would say is just never stop learning. You know, you just cannot stop learning. If you don't know something, ask somebody. You'd be amazed at right here in the Arizona market, we're in a very special group. Right. It's a very special peer group. Right. I can reach out to Rafael at any moment in time. I can reach out to any one of our peers here and say, hey, I'm struggling with this transaction. Is there any way that you can help me, or is there anything that you can help? And they are all very open to giving their knowledge and giving away. Well, most of them are actually podcasters, and so all this information's on YouTube. And
we can't keep our mouth shut.
can't keep quiet. So, that's key. That's key. Find other wholesalers that are in your market. Know who's out there. Know who your buyers are for this. Right? We're known to buy multi-units here in the Valley. So that's the thing. So when people come up to us and they want to sell something to us, I have this deal, I have this multi-unit. Oh yeah, we're all over it, right? Because we've already experienced that before. So if you continue with your education, you continue learning and continue to network, those are going to be some of the keys that are going to make you successful. And realize, you know, not everybody's perfect, and not everybody will want to help you grow and help you on your journey. But there are people out there, and it's just a matter of you finding them.
Right. I love it, man. Yeah. Thank you so much again for spending the time and sharing your journey with us. Tribe, thanks for listening. There has been literally no better time than now to jumpstart your wholesaling career. So if you're ready to take advantage of the best opportunity out there and create wealth, just go to the Wholesaling Inc. website and set up an appointment. Have a conversation, see if it pans out. If it works, you might get an invitation to become a Tribe member. And if so, I look forward to working with you personally. In the meantime, stay focused. You got this.